Good morning. We are glad you're all with us for the August 9th, 2022 meeting of Henderson County Fiscal Court. We will begin, as we always do, with an invocation, so if you would please stand with me. Dear Heavenly Father, please look over our community and look over this body as we work to make good decisions for our community. Look over our healthcare and professionals and frontline workers, first responders, as they continue to deal with the global pandemic and its consequences. Please look over our men and women in uniform, both here and abroad, as they work to keep us safe. We see all these things in Christ's name. Amen. Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Magistrate Southern.
Here.
Magistrate Moran.
Here.
Magistrate Putman.
Here.
Magistrate McCollum.
Here.
Magistrate Berry. Here.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have in your packets the minutes of this July 26, 2022 meeting. After a period of review, I'll entertain a motion to approve those.
I move we accept the minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other corrections, additions, clarifications? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we have a busy agenda, and I'll ask the court if we could wrap up our business today at least a few minutes before 11 o'clock. There's going to be a rather historic announcement at 11 o'clock that you're all invited to out at the Kenergy headquarters. Love to be there on time. So we'll dive right into it. But thank you. And we're going to begin our agenda today with a very special occasion. We have with us Miss Sarah Taylor. I'm so glad you're here. And we have a special proclamation in your honor that I'd like to read. And then if you'd like to make comments, we'd welcome them. And then take a couple pictures and just honor you for your special service today. So here's what this proclamation reads. Whereas American Gold Star Mothers was founded in 1928 as a national organization for mothers who have lost sons or daughters in the service of the United States Armed Forces, whether they were killed in combat, died for other reasons, or are missing in action. Whereas Henderson native Sarah Taylor is the mother of David Taylor, who, while serving as a specialist in the 2nd Battalion, 508th Parachute Infantry Regiment, 4th Brigade Combat Team of the 82nd Airborne Division, was killed March 12, 2012 in an accident at his base in Kandahar Province, Afghanistan. And whereas after her son's death, Miss Taylor became active in the Kentucky chapter of Gold Star Mothers and eventually led the organization for several years before being named to the American Gold Star Mothers National Executive Board. And whereas Miss Taylor chaired several committees on the National Board, she was elected 2nd Vice President, then 1st Vice President, and was named President of the National Executive Board, a position she will serve in through 2023. And whereas both in her work with Gold Star Mothers and with other groups focused on current and former members of the military, Ms. Taylor has helped focus attention on the challenges faced not only by veterans, but also their families. And whereas Henderson County Fiscal Court respects and admires Ms. Taylor's courage and determination after losing her son, her ascent into the top leadership position with American Gold Star Mothers, and her passionate advocacy for our men and women in uniform. Now, therefore, I, Brad Schneider, Henderson County Judge Executive, join with the Henderson County Fiscal Court in honoring Sarah Taylor and declaring August 9th, 2022 as Sarah Taylor Day in Henderson County, Kentucky, and encourage all of our citizens to join me in thanking Sarah for her service and dedication as a Gold Star Mother.
I just want to thank you all. I'm absolutely humbled by this. I try not to put myself out there like this, so this is very special for me. it is my honor and my duty to continue my son's service by taking care of our veterans, our active military, and our Gold Star mothers. And it is my pledge to make Henderson County proud as I will continue my good works even past my days as president of American Gold Star Mothers. Thank you.
Sarah? Thank you, Sarah, and best of luck in all your endeavors. Thank you for what you do. I know, Melissa, it's hard to follow that, but Kelsey Dunham and Melissa Clements from United Way are here to give us a report on the allocation of the $300,000 that we gave to a special committee of United Way to help local nonprofits in the aftermath of the depths of the COVID pandemic, and it's great to say that that has been accomplished, and you're going to give us an update.
Yes, and it is very difficult to follow that. What an honor for her, and what a privilege for you all to be able to do that today. So I did not wear my heels, so I'm on my tippy toes, so I apologize. It's hard to be short these days. So yes, we want to start off by thanking all of you for allowing United Way to be able to continue the work through our recovery and restoration team. We had a great team. We have worked really hard over the last year and a half. It's been a difficult year and a half for a lot of our nonprofits in this community. And the $300,000 you all gave to the recovery and restoration team has already impacted those organizations in such a positive way. So I want to recognize our executive team. I invited them here today, but some had other obligations, which we understand. Magistrate Tim Southard proudly served on our team, and I hope will continue to serve. Mark Chumbler with Baird Financial, Bobby Jarrett, the Executive Director of the Housing Authority, and Commissioner Brad Staten. So that executive team has been meeting on a regular basis for about 6 to 8 months, and we worked tirelessly on how to go about giving this money out. I also have to say that Brenda Ryder Duncan, your treasurer, worked, I don't know if Brenda's here. Is Brenda? I love her. Rhonda and I love her. And she is amazing to work with. There's been a lot of rules, a lot of changes that have happened with these funds, and it has been such a positive role that she's played and that United Way has played. We've enjoyed this opportunity to do so in giving the funds out. All of you received, I think from Kurt, a spreadsheet of the organizations that received the funds. Does anybody have any questions about the organizations or the funds that were distributed before I recognize the allocation team that helped distribute the funds?
It just appears to me like it was spread out well. I'm sure all the applications were worthy. I'm sure there were more applications than we had money to give out. It wouldn't surprise me a bit, but I hope there was a lot of activity, people interested in applying. Is that the case? And
yes, it was. We had $603,000 in requests with only $300,000 to give out.
Yeah, right.
So if that tells you where the need was and how many applications came in.
And if the fiscal court recalls, one of our goals with this was to think about forward-looking projects, forward-looking requests that would help these organizations not necessarily replace old operations like level money, but things that they can aspire to would help them in the future. And I trust that was pretty much the guiding light there.
Yes, actually, this morning, the brain injury camp, one of their board members was in my office, and they are using the money to make their pathways handicap accessible. And that was something they had been trying to do before COVID hit, and they had to stop because the money that they had previously put away had to be used in another direction due to COVID. So imagine what you'll be able to do, families will be able to do at the brain injury camp with children or adults that are in wheelchairs or with certain types of equipment that they have not been able to go down the trails. So this will be a wonderful thing for those families. And that's just one example.
I think that's a perfect example of what our goal was, to help them continue to achieve even if they suffered financially because of COVID. So
Yes. So I want to recognize the allocation
Melissa,
team. Oh, I'm
could
sorry,
I
but
just briefly, I just looked, and some of the allocations are greater than others, and I understand it. Was all that based on need?
yes. The allocations team, the executive team was not part of the decision-making. That's why we had a completely separate, very diverse allocations team that had the opportunity to contact each organization and the leadership there as they went through the application process. The money that was given out was based on need. It was also, like Judge Snyder said, we were really looking at that forward thinking, futuristically. This was, when we had 2 workshops in February where they were via Zoom, where we went through the application with those organizations, and we talked about the importance of looking at what was happening before COVID, what they had to stop, and what would the future look like if they had some funds to be able to go back and look at how they could use those funds to impact their organization moving forward. We did have some grants, unfortunately, that came through that were operational based, meaning they asked for administrative cost, and that was not part of it this time around. Henderson Recovery and Restoration was able to give out around $128,000 about a year and a half ago that was solely based off of looking at the recovery of operational cost. So that was part of the discrepancy in funds that you see as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Magistrate Tim Southern, was there anything you would like to comment as being part of the executive team?
I sat in on some of the other teams' too meetings, and the thought process and how they went through and how they decided who was getting what, and it was, they were very focused on how they're going to progress in the future. And it was really good to see how they come together, talk with each other, and work with each other in the community. It was a good team. And thanks to, there's the workhorse right there.
No.
Unbelievable.
No, I appreciate that, but I could not have done this without my executive team and the group that I'm going to name off for the allocations, because they deserve some recognition. Jennifer Keach with Big Rivers, Jack Brewer with Audubon Metals, Mark Weaver with the Community Foundation, Jennifer Richmond with the Henderson County School System, Ben Grove with Axiom Architecture, Regina Bender with the City of Henderson, Nick Witt with Old National Bank, Greg Risch with Gibbs Die Casting, and Kurt Wiesen with Henderson County Government. So we appreciate all of those that participated in this and the time and the dedication and support they gave to this team. Again, we thank all of you for trusting Henderson County's Recovery and Restoration team to be able to do this and impact our nonprofits in such a positive and moving way, to be quite honest, because the programs and the projects that are happening are really going to be moving and impactful moving into the future. So thank you very much.
And just so you know, because of the guidelines surrounding ARPA funds, there is the opportunity to do this again at some future date if fiscal court chooses. We have other things we're thinking about, but there is always that option. You never know. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks to the committees for all their hard work on that. I know that wasn't easy, but glad it got done. Okay, Clay Horton from our Green River District Health Department, here to make a presentation about your tax rates. As you do this every year, bring us your tax rate decisions, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Judge. Glad to be back here with you all again at Henderson Fiscal Court. As the judge said, I'm Clay Horton. I'm the director for Green River District Health Department, and I'm here today to, on behalf of the Henderson County Board of Health, present to you this year's public health tax resolution. The board met at its May 3rd meeting, adopted the resolution that we're presenting to you here today. The tax rate that they adopted was 5 cents per $100 of assessed value. That is the same tax rate for the current year and for probably the previous 5 years. I'm happy to answer any questions, and again, just glad to see you all again.
I'd just like to say you've done a fantastic job over the last 3 years. I don't know how you stood it all, but you look like you're coming out good. But I appreciate working with you.
Well, I appreciate that. We have a really good team, and I'm thankful for the work that they do. They've been a little beat up, but they're recovering. They're getting back to full steam now.
I echo Master McCullum's remarks. You've had a great leader in you and in a very difficult time, and I know you've been recognized for that regionally, and as it should be. And knock on wood, brighter days ahead. Keep working out of it, and I appreciate the health department holding the line on its tax rates. Making it work because this is a difficult time for taxpayers as well. So.
Sure.
And the retirement issue is still okay right now.
It is. So, health departments have, over probably the past 5 years, had a big financial dilemma with the increasing retirement cost. But the Kentucky legislature, year before last, passed a bill that changed the methodology for that unfunded liability to be paid back. It's still going to have to be paid back, but it's been structured in a much more reasonable way, a way that we can plan for, in a way that we can cope with. So that's brought very much needed stability to health departments across the state.
I do not believe we need a vote in any way, a vote to accept.
Yeah, I
vote to
move
accept
to
the
approve.
motion. We have a motion and a second. Any other questions of Mr. Horton? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
As to our own tax rates, one set by Henderson County Fiscal Court, again, as has been the case for the last 6 fiscal years, we are not changing them. They are staying flat. We have budgeted that way for 2023, and we expect this to be more than enough revenue to handle our needs. Any questions about that? We get a vote to that effect, approving these tax rates?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Let me make sure I get that in. So our fiscal court clerk stepped out of the room. That was Beth Moran.
Does he need to read that?
I think you got to
Yeah.
read those.
He's gotta read.
Yeah.
Okay.
Henderson County Fiscal Court tax rates for 2022 order. Property assessment has now been certified by the Commonwealth of Kentucky Department of Revenue Office of Property Evaluation and permissible ad valorem tax rates and revenue for fiscal year 22-23, established for Henderson County in accordance with KRS 68.245 through 68.249. Be it ordered by the Fiscal Court, County of Henderson, Commonwealth of Kentucky, that the following tax rates for 2022-2023 are hereby set. The rate per 100 for real property is 12.8 cents. The expected revenue is $3,247,380. Personal property tax, 18.4 cents per 100. Expected revenue, $576,609. Motor vehicle tax, 8.5 cents per 100. Expected revenue, $338,079. Public service companies, real estate, 11.8 cents per 100. Revenue, $51,912. Public service company personnel, 17.5 cents per 100. Revenue of $417,944. Watercraft tax, 8.5 cents per 100. Revenue of $13,256. And be it further ordered that a 3 cents per acre tax be levied on all privately owned timberland in Henderson County, which is required to be listed for taxation and credited to the forest fire protection account.
And again, same as last year and the year before that and the year before that and the year before that.
I think Beth made the motion, Kurt, and I seconded it.
Thank you.
So any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. You each received the report from the Planning Commission on case number 1129, and without further note, we can move on to the next item on the agenda, and that is a resolution solidifying with KYTC our use of flex funds. I'll call up County Engineer Nick Stallings if you want to make any comments. We talked about keeping our flex funds once again this year and using them on Dixon number 1, Dixon number 2, and Spotsville Bluff City roads, correct?
That's right.
Any other questions about, do you remember the total amount? It was 200?
276,000 and change. I think it was 542. But that was for last year and this year's flex funds. The 3 roads we selected might meet the criteria that the rural roads put in place, which is house density, business density, make sure it's not a glorified driveway or a long road to nowhere. So they all have houses. They all got, a lot of traffic on them. They're both in need. They're already been asphalt. So there should be no issues with them approving all those.
And is there a resolution to read? Is it a long resolution?
Fiscal Court of Henderson County, resolution adopting and approving the execution of a Royal Secondary Program Agreement between the Fiscal Court and the Commonwealth of Kentucky Transportation Cabinet, Department of Rural and Municipal Aid, and accepting all roads and streets referred to therein as being part of the county road system. Be it resolved by the Fiscal Court that the Fiscal Court does hereby certify that all roads and streets referred to in said agreement are county roads as defined in KRS 178.0101B, and the Fiscal Court does hereby ratify and adopt all statements, representations, warranties, covenants, and agreements contained in said agreement, and does hereby accept said agreement, and by such acceptance agrees to all the terms and conditions therein stated. And the County Judge Executive of the county is hereby authorized and directed to sign said agreement as set forth on behalf of the Fiscal Court of Henderson County, and the County Clerk of Henderson County is hereby authorized and directed to certify thereto.
Need a motion?
Move to accept.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions of Nick?
No.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And I'll keep you up here for the next item, the opening of our bids on a pothole patcher. Looks like there's one. Is that correct?
All right, we got from Equipment Marketing Company out of Cloverdale, Indiana. They got a price here. It says units in stock and delivery is available upon award. They got a price of $88,900. That will replace the one that we have currently. It's got a lot of hours and it's been used for many, many years. So I can take this under advisement, but that's the only one, so I don't know what advisement I'll have besides.
If you want to take a moment to review,
Yeah, that's fine.
and if you want to come back later in this meeting and make a recommendation, you can, or we can wait. It's up to you, Nick.
Hey, Nick, are we keeping the old one too?
It's going to get surplus.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, so it will be a surplus item.
Do you want us to go ahead and make a motion on this now?
Well, I thought he might look over the contract real quick just to
Yeah,
make sure
let
that.
me
Okay.
just double check this and I'll be back up.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Next, we have a request from the coroner, and he and I met last week to talk about what amounts to a misunderstanding. And if you don't mind, Bruce, I'd like to tee this up and explain to the court the challenge you're facing. If you remember, I think during a budget workshop last May, the coroner brought to us a list of 4 things that he thought ARPA money should pay for, and would, and broached the idea in the meeting of perhaps having that happen. And at the time, if you recall, I asked him to see if all those things could be bought in June in the last fiscal year, and then we could figure out how we wanted to pay for them, whether it was ARPA or regular funds. That did not happen. None of them were able to be purchased in June. We got into July, and as you recall, the coroner asked if he could ask the court for the number one item on that list, which was the Stryker power stretcher. And I said, if you know, it's not budgeted, so you need to come and ask fiscal court, and he did. And you remember that conversation. The challenge was he went ahead and bought the other three things that were on that list without double checking with us about where that would go in the budget. And when he turned in the invoices to Ms. Ryder, she asked me where to put it in the budget. And Mr. Coroner Farmer has a line item for supplies, and it was approximately, I don't know, $7,000 in change all told for those three things. And I said, put it in his supplies line item. You know, he has a budget for that. The problem is, because he misunderstood and bought those things, and we put them in the supplies line item, now his supplies line item is almost tapped for the year. And I think there's just a few $100s left in it. And he came to see me saying that he made a mistake, and he's going to need more money in his supplies line item for the rest of the year to cover the ongoing normal expenses. I was a little frustrated that this happened, but I also know that he's going to have expenses throughout the course of the year, and he might need some extra money. So am I summarizing that conversation correctly, Mr. Farmer?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I think his request at the time was, can we put back in, out of, I guess, contingency appropriations at this point, the amount of those three items back into his supply line budget to, you know, basically replace those items. There's no doubt he will probably need some more money in his supply line items for this year, and I'll open it up to discussion about what y'all would like to do. Obviously, we have, you know, contingency funds to do that with. The other option is we can continue to add money as he needs it for supplies that go over. He's gonna go over his line item because of this, and as things come up, we can ask him to submit requests and then shift money around if we need to, or just add from contingency. That's another way to handle this. Or we might say, tough, deal with your supplies budget for the rest of the year as it stands. So, three options. I'm open to any talks. I would recommend at this point maybe putting a little bit more money back in there so that they can, you know, have continuing operations without a whole lot of challenges. And then if it got to the point where that line item was beginning to be used up and he needed more money, he could come back to court.
We understand, you know, communication sometimes gets lost in some transactions. But I guess I would ask Bruce, what kind of money other than what you already spent would you be looking at to finish out the year? Like, do you have a total?
Our general supply and expenses is the main operating budget for the office itself. It's everything miscellaneous that we need.
Right. Is it the figure that's in here?
And yes, because last year we had $10,000 in that
Right.
one, and we ended up spending $9,000 and something. It got awful close to be going over because during doing this job, my job has been to try to save money and have an efficient operating group. I did the work with the hospital about getting them to donate the cooler to us, which we ended up putting a new compressor on, but now the county, I have the paperwork, the county is now going to be the owner of that cooler instead of having to borrow theirs, you know, and going from there. Also, we got a few fixtures out of the old building that's being torn down that we can put to use in our building. I would just, before we get going much on this, I want to express to the court my thanks to James and Brent, the gentlemen that came from the road department to help us move. We were under a tight time frame. We had a little better than 2 months to find a place to move, to try to make arrangements and get cleaned up, to get a place to move to. So it was a busy thing. The judge and I met quite a bit on it and all like this, and we came up with the solution that we did. I submitted what I would like to do with the building. The judge submitted what he wanted to do, and that's what we went towards. So we've still got expenses coming out of there that appear to be building expenses. Whenever we did the move, I was told you gotta go rent a truck. It's
35.
Some odd dollars in renting a do what?
Wasn't
Well,
me.
Talking with Brenda, James, and everything else, we had a lot of stuff to move. We talked to the road department. Road department, we went out there first. They had a pickup truck with a lift, and our equipment, part of the equipment would not fit on that truck. That whenever we started there, we were going to have something bigger and moving the cooler and some of the other equipment. It was one of these kind of deals. The county has an account with Ryder Trucks. Renisa uses it every election and all this
And
kind of
then
stuff. I
that's-
went over.
That was just a couple $100, right?
That's where, well, that's almost $300.
Yeah, well, so it was
Yeah,
minimal.
but it's
Yeah.
stuff, my people help do a lot of this movement. I don't know if any other departments have ever been in a situation like this, and we're still unpacking and trying to get things adjusted. And it's going to take us a while. We got a building that we're going to be able to use. It's going to be feasible. We just have to equip the building and get some things adjusted to it. And there are things more and more as we are in the building that we see that we're needing and all. And so some of that would be coming out of the supplies and expenses account.
So
and all
Bruce,
that,
we
yeah.
got 370.65 left in that line item. Judge, was it your recommendation that we go on out of contingency and put another 10,000 in there?
Basically replace the cost of these three items that Bruce misunderstood that he could buy outside of his current budget. So I forget the total amount. I think it was 7,000 and change.
I acknowledge there was
What?
a mistake, but everyone knew what I was, most everybody knew what I was doing. I didn't go order all this kind of equipment without talking it over with somebody. I talked it over with Treasurer Ryder, and we said, well, we got to look for the July 1st and all this kind of stuff. My assumption after that budget meeting, and we were all talking, is that, okay, everything's going to be set. All the county fire departments, most of them have been getting money on the grant and all like this. So it was just a misunderstanding, plain and simple, and I accept responsibility.
Okay, can we never have this misunderstanding again? This whole court, if it's financial, we have to vote on it. If we haven't voted on it, then it doesn't happen. And I've been upset about this for 4 years. This is where we have to come, and if we don't vote on it, then it's not approved, okay? What do you do with your coroner's expense money?
Wes, okay, do what, sir?
What do you do with your coroner's expense money? Looks like you've got $2,600 still left in that.
Supplies and expenses, or which one are you talking about?
Coroner's expense money.
Coroner's expenses is the same line item that you all have in yours.
I don't have, we get that, whatever. When I was county attorney, I set that in a separate account, and I spent it on the county attorney's office stuff. That's all I did with it.
That, I went by after all my years of dealing with this is what I was told is how it was done, and I said, fine.
So you're using the money for yourself?
That's where, yeah,
Okay.
because that's what I was told. It was an
Who
expense.
told you?
Mr. Coleman, this goes back so many years. You know, I've been coroner for 15 and a half, and I was doing the budgets and the operations.
Do you know who told you that?
No.
Does it say coroner's expense money? Could that not be used for expenses?
I will use it for whatever you want me to do with it. I'm here to learn and follow directions as best I can. It's not I'm trying to run something past anybody or anything else. Everything I do is up front. You can ask anybody. I'm not going to make any major decisions or purchases without talking to somebody about it.
My
Now,
feeling is,
I'm under the
do you
mis-
have items that you need?
Do what?
Do you have specific items you need?
There are items I would like, whether they agree with my
Can you list them and bring them back to us so we can see what it is you want? I don't
can't.
see those things. And I talked to you on the phone and I said, tell me what you want. You said staplers. I'll buy you a damn stapler if that's what you need.
I went out this weekend looking for staplers. You'd be amazed at stuff I buy out of my pocket
Okay.
for this office, and I have for years, and I accept that.
That's what the expense money's for.
Well, and I accept that.
If you need a statement, I just need
Okay.
specifics. I just want specific things that you need so I can make a decision whether it's something I should approve or not. That's all I
You know,
want.
if you don't mind, you're about to
Yeah,
say
I
something.
yield to you, Judge. Go ahead.
I think it's a good idea, Bruce. I think
I think that's
making a list of what you need now and what you might need over the course of the year to give us an idea of how much money you might need in that line item would be helpful.
The major items be no trouble. Little things, that are less than $10.
Well, that shouldn't be a problem, but
Right.
I think it will help us understand what we should do.
We've gone from a little office that we had 2 workstations and 3 people in trying to work, and you were like shoulder to shoulder. We are now in a facility where we have some room for everybody and set up workstations for everybody. But one of the things right off the bat is we still in the same situation that we don't have computers for everybody
Okay.
to be able to do.
Let me stop you right there. You realize that now, because of where you're situated, we know exactly what the computer use is, and we have video to know at any given time how many people are in your building using the computer. And nothing that we've seen so far indicates that there's a tremendous amount of computer use or that people are waiting in line to use computers. And how many computers did you have at the hospital office beforehand?
2.
And you've got 2 now, and I never heard any complaints about the number of computers then. I'm not saying necessarily that you might not could use a third computer, but you yourself barely use a computer, right?
Right.
So
So are you all watching us through video? Do you do other departments that way?
we have access to video, yeah, because you're part of our whole system of video.
So our office is being monitored,
It can be, it can be,
The courthouse is. They're
Yeah.
everywhere. The cameras are everywhere.
yeah.
I know it, but we've never been told that there was this.
Well, you now have video surveillance in your building.
Okay.
And that we have access to in case there's any questions about what goes on in the building or outside the building, for your safety.
Somebody
and-
breaks in,
Yeah.
somebody tries to do
Well,
something.
that's what we wanted the alarm system for.
Yeah.
Was for that
Yeah.
and all. And I've talked with the neighbors. The neighbors are watching out for us and all. There's still things to do in the building. I mean, I've been at this long enough, I know what it generally takes to run this operation. And I've always come before you all. This bit about the grant money was a misunderstanding, plain and simple, and I'm standing here admitting before everybody that I did.
Bruce, we are all here to help work with you. We just need to see what it is, the things that you need, and I promise you, this group is going to help you. But you've got to bring us the information and show us what you need, specific items, money, and what it does so we can make a decision.
Yeah.
You just want to give it, you just right now, from my point of view, you just want us to give you another $10,000 blank check.
No, all I was asking for was could the equipment be moved to the grant fund that I had asked for initially?
That didn't get approved, so I'm going to say I'm against that. I mean, you got to ask the whole fiscal court, and you got to put it in the budget and ask for these things in the budget process.
I will say this about all this. We were not notified that the hospital wasn't renewing our contract till the day that the court did the first reading of the budget for this year. I was notified that afternoon. Right then, we're in a perplex that we can't use old money, we can't use new money yet. and we can't figure out how much it's gonna cost to do it. I went out and found contractors and looked at prices and stuff like that once we decided upon a building.
And what kind of price
it
would
was
we
one
have
of these
paid
things- it
if
was
we
one
had
of
used your contractors?
Do what?
What kind of price would we have paid if we used your contractors?
But
25,000 or up?
25,000.
And this is not, this has nothing to do with the move. This money here has nothing to do with the move. It was
Well-
items that you
They're taking.
wanted or
they're
needed
take-
for
Out of that same account, they're taking out the expenses for the building
Yeah.
and building this. In
I feel
line-
like we're running in circles.
Yeah.
I want to get back to those 3 items. Are we going
Right.
to reimburse the coroner for the 3 items that, during this miscommunication that was purchased, which totaled 7,000 and change? To
But
put
are
it
these
back
3 items part
into
of-
his expense line.
But are
In
these
my
3
opinion,
items part of that expense line?
You have to come to court and put that in your budget request when you're doing the budget.
I understand.
We
did.
didn't do that.
I
He
understand.
did not do that.
No, I
So at this
did.
point, I want to see what items he wants and needs before I'm going to vote for it. Y'all can do whatever you want to. That's just my opinion. I want to see what it is he needs and items. And
think-
I told him that when he called me.
It shouldn't be that difficult if
Mr.
you
I
put
think-
them in the
I
past,
did.
then you have.
You
Well-
have not shown me the items you need. The thing you told me was,
No,
well, we've
when-
got a big place now, and we've only got one stapler, and we can't share a stapler, and we need some staplers. That's what you told me.
I told you I'm gonna buy some staplers, yes.
what-
Yeah, yeah, get a list
That's
together.
a little thing.
Get a list together. It'll help. It'll help. Get a list of ongoing needs, and bring it back to us, and at least we can, approve to fund those. I think
Well, with 370.65 in that total line item,
we're going to have to move some
Yeah.
money. There's no doubt about that, but.
It
Um,
is,
but-
and like I said, the building never figured in supplies expenses originally.
Bruce, if they'd listened to you and
Well-
done your contractor and whatnot, we would have spent a whole lot more money than we spent.
Yeah.
And they've gone to extraordinary means to get you fixed up and done so you could have a place to put the office in.
James.
He's been
Brent
outstanding.
has
James
helped
is, I mean,
immensely.
they have
Yeah.
bent over backwards to try to help you, and I don't get it.
So let's do this. Let's do this. I think everybody can agree that bringing back a list of some needs over the next 4 or 5 months would be great, especially next 4 or 5 months. Anything beyond that, you can stick it at the bottom of the list. We'll consider it next meeting. Is that acceptable?
Okay, we're gonna be over by next meeting, right off the bat, because I don't know where this rental truck is being charged to. It hadn't showed up on anything yet. I used the coroner's credit card, which I was told to do.
We can transfer some money out of from one part of your current budget to the other to cover it if we need to.
Okay. It's whatever you all wish. That's what I'm here for. It's just that I have all the years of doing this, and I've felt honored to have the positions I have had and all, and have never had a problem like this in all these years. And like I said, this all starts with a misunderstanding. I admit misunderstanding. That's what you wish for me to do, and that's what I've done.
Well, and I think we got a path towards fixing it
Yeah.
in some way.
It's all I'm saying, and now that if somebody's upset with me, I'm sorry for that. I want to correct anything I can. I've tried to put together figures I was told I'll try to put together under a short period of time. I will sit down and with the staff and see what people want.
Okay.
We got
Well,
one
what they
thing
need,
now.
what they need. Yeah, what you need.
Well,
Yeah.
and then next budget year, yes, we make more adjustments. We're sitting over there now fighting gnats.
I know.
And-
We've heard about that. We're working on it.
Well, and
Yeah.
James has sprayed it
Yeah.
a couple times.
Yeah.
We were in there last night, Sunday night. Here comes all the gnats.
Well, we don't have a choice about where to go, so
I know.
we're working on it.
Coroner,
So-
I think Magistrate McCullum said it well, said that we're going to make sure you get the things you need to operate your office efficient going forward. Now, I guess we're still waiting on what that looks like as
Yeah.
far as your needs come up, as how much money we will be moving, if any, out of the general
Yeah.
fund into that line item, so.
This is just one of these things that I'm falling further behind in trying to get my paperwork doing this other
Well,
research. we put together.
but we can't avoid it. You know, the
I
move,
know
the
it.
move
I'm
forced our
not-
hand.
I'm
and-
not disputing that.
Okay. So I think you have your assignment. Go get us a list, bring it back next meeting, and we'll review it.
Okay. I thank you all for your time today, and I hope we all can work together in the future.
We
Thank
can.
you, Gordon.
We can.
Appreciate
We
it.
work together up to now. We'll work together in the future.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
No problem.
Mr. Gold, your report.
All right, Judge, I've got several checks today. A flow-through from the city, $1,374.99. 3 interest checks, $3.74, $11.22, and $43.39. We also have, as the magistrates may recall, there's a statute that says that once a year, as of June 30th, we turn over whatever money is in our operations account from the collection of delinquent checks and turn that over to the fiscal court. Traditionally, that has been something that the fiscal court has turned around and given back to our office because that's what runs the office. But if the other thing is House Bill 782 got passed, and this is an interesting thing. The prior law said that we did that as of June 30 and turned over the amount of money that was in the account as of June 30. There was a new bill passed, House Bill 782, and it actually deleted that as a requirement and basically just allows the county attorney's office to keep it. However, that didn't go into effect until after June 30, so I wanted to go ahead and do this anyway just to make sure. One could argue that that's not now the law, but since it was the law as of June 30, I think the right thing to do is to go ahead and turn that over. So at the time of the of June 30, there was $5,550.64 in that account, and we would request that, as in years past, that would be returned for county attorney's office operations.
I would make a motion to accept his report and also that we redo the check for $5,550.64 back. That law was originally done in spite because a representative ran against the county attorney and lost, and he got this bill passed to make it where they had to turn the money back over on June 30th just as a spite type thing. And now apparently the legislature has seen their mistake and has corrected that. It's what should be done.
And most counties are doing what we
Yeah.
were doing, turn it
Yeah.
over. We do have a separate resolution
We have a separate
specifically on
resolution.
that bad check.
So, Master McCollum, if you would just
Make a motion to
accept
approve
the
his-
county attorney's payments.
I do.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Now we'll read the resolution.
Resolution accepting the county attorney's 2021-22 bad check fund proceeds and directing the treasurer to return said funds to county attorney for office expenses. Whereas the Henderson County Attorney operates a bad check division pursuant to KRS 514.040. Whereas the bad check division collects restitution for victims of crimes. Whereas KRS 514.040 requires that any excess fees held by the county attorney on June 30th of each year shall be turned over to the county treasurer before the end of the next fiscal year for use by the fiscal court of the county. Whereas the county attorney bad check division account balance as of June 30th, 2022 was $5,550.64, and whereas the Henderson County Fiscal Court deems it in the best interest of the public to return said sum to the Henderson County Attorney Bad Check Division for use in administration of the County Attorney's Office. Now therefore be it resolved by the Fiscal Court of Henderson County, Kentucky as follows. The Henderson County Fiscal Court hereby accepts the sum of $5,550.64 in excess fees from the Henderson County Attorney pursuant to KRS 514.040. The Henderson County Fiscal Court further directs the Henderson County Treasurer to issue a check to Henderson County Attorney Bad Check Division in the amount of $5,550.64.
Make a motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you. I would also say, Magistrate McCollum, that that bill was passed when people wrote checks.
Yes, that's true.
A lot more fees came through the office back then.
We used to get about $60,000-$70,000 a year out of the bad checks back
Not
then.
anymore.
But now, well, Walmart started doing the scanning and that kind of stuff, so that it has just changed all dramatically.
Treasurer Ryder, annual settlement.
This is meeting the requirement as required by the state of formally presenting the annual settlement, annual year-end statement for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2022 to the fiscal court. The statement details by each fund revenues and appropriations, also includes a statement of assets, statement of receipts, and statement of claims, and you should have received a copy of this.
Do we need a motion to accept that?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. I'll say that this, again, reflects a really good fiscal year last year. Unbeknownst to some, we do not have $50 million in reserve. We've passed that around. But we do have a healthy amount in reserve, so any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next.
This is the second reading of Budget Amendment Number 1 for fiscal year '23. Total amount of the amendment is $380,817.71. This is amending into the current year budget unbudgeted receipts from the general fund and state grants fund with corresponding expenses for these funds. Again, the total is $380,817.71.
Again, pass through on a grant. Yep.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And I will say we will soon be making, Magistrate Southard, the budget amendments to move the ARPA funds over to our asphalt and rock line items. Probably be tackling that next meeting, beginning that process. So, yes, ma'am.
Okay. I have no transfers. I do have claims. From the road fund to Paul Miller Ford, $36,553. This is for a 2022 Ford vehicle and is to come from the recycling motor vehicle appropriation line. To Moit Construction in the amount of $23,595.76. This is for the BF Overfield project and the fairgrounds and is to come from Parks, Program Supplies, and contracted construction appropriation lines. To Hazex Construction, $70,051.14. This is for the BF Overfield Bridge project and is to come from the Bridge Construction Appropriation line. From the jail fund to Advanced Document Solutions in the amount of $1,519.04. This is the copier lease and is to come from the Data Processing Equipment Appropriation line. U.S. Bank, which is the credit card, $586.63. The majority of this is to come from the office supplies appropriation line. Art Construction Company in the amount of $60,295.24. This is for application number 3 for the CSC building renovation and is to come from the building repairs and maintenance appropriation lines.
Motion to approve the claims. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ryder. Quickly, do we have anything for good of the county from members of the audience? Oh.
Y'all got to put some stoplights or something up.
We
Nick,
had
let the guy with the gun
something
go
come up on
first.
school resource officer pay last week. The city has reached an agreement with the school to increase the rate of pay for their school resource officers. I talked to Chad Thompson with the school. They've agreed to do the same pay for our school resource officers, but it's not been budgeted. You know, they've agreed to, if we increase their pay to what the city school resource officers are making, they'll reimburse us that amount. So before I do that, I want to make sure that as the pay that they reimburse us for exceeds what we have budgeted to come in from them, can I get that plugged back into our budget?
Maybe we talk about the procedure of that with Brenda Ryder. Is there anything unusual we have to do with that amount to a budget amendment?
No, sir. We bill the school board, and the school board in turn reimburses the county. And once that revenue line exceeds what is budgeted, then we will amend the budget and budget the additional in.
Okay, so it does take a budget amendment, yeah.
It will, but that will be
Eventually.
towards the end of the year.
I appreciate you coming and telling us ahead of time. That's the way we should have it. And I'd
Yes.
make a motion that we're going to accept that.
Right, what we'll do is when we get to the point where they're maxed out and we have to amend the budget, then that'll be the point at which we
Okay.
agree to do that, so. But I don't have any problem going down that path.
And I don't either. I would like to ask one question that was brought up last night at the FOP meeting, that these officers have to pay their own insurance, which makes sense because school teachers don't pay Social Security because they, back in 1954, I think they signed an agreement that they wouldn't do it, but the teachers get messed over because if they don't, even if they go to another job or had another job or whatever and put in the hours, they still, I mean, they get like 10 cents on the dollar of what everybody else gets. And so how do we do the Social Security? I guess is my question.
I'd have to check. I don't know off the top of my head.
All those costs associated with it are covered by the school system.
No, I don't think so. That's not what they said.
I remember you talking about that before.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned it, yeah, I think.
If we can find out about that, I mean, I don't know, I mean, if the county's got to eat the 8% or whatever, 7.5 or whatever it is, maybe we should do that. I don't know. Just something we need to think about and discuss.
So I guess the question for Brenda, or maybe it's an Angela question, are the school resource officers, are they considered independent contractors, or are they considered employees and taxes and everything?
They're
Social Security, all that
considered
kind of thing?
employees, and I will recheck this to verify, but I believe the full amount is billed to the school board, and that's what the county receives as a reimbursement, which includes Social Security FICAs.
Okay.
Somebody
I think with
mentioned
it
last
being
night
an
they thought
employee
they
of
were
the school, it's
1099
what class-
employees.
Yeah.
I will verify that to make sure.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
And they're all retire, rehire, so we're not covering
No.
Yeah.
No.
retirement costs or anything like that, so.
Right, I think it's different classifications, like my wife retired from the school system, but I think she's eligible for Social Security because she was a different
She wasn't a
classification.
teacher, yeah.
She
Right.
wasn't a
Yeah.
teacher, yeah.
So
But they
it's-
took it out and paid her during her whole work time.
Correct.
So it sounds like you got the go-ahead, Sheriff.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Nick, got a recommendation?
Yeah, I recommend we go ahead and go with this Vortex pothole patcher. It's got the units in stock, which is good this time of the season. Also, the price includes on-site delivery and training if we need it. So it'll come with our air tools, the pothole patcher, the lance, air lance, and also have our crack seal applicator. So.
And this is a budgeted item.
Oh yeah, it is a budget item. Yes.
I'd make a motion, we accept the bid.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
All right, now I'm going to talk about getting back money. The BF Overfield, we just paid the contracting bill now for construction, so I'm going to talk with the rural roads as far as getting our 80/20 money back on that. I'm going to have them do our inspection, come up there and put it back in our list of bridges. I'm going to go ahead and do the inspection, so that way we can go ahead and apply for that $80,000 back for the construction of that bridge.
Okay, thanks.
Also, on bigger news, there's been a bipartisan infrastructure law that's been passed by Congress. It's various transportation modes and community projects. But what I'm going for is a Safe Streets for All This is a avenue to where they're putting $1 billion a year for the next 5 years. This money strictly for county, city, and tribal governments. The road departments, the highway, state road departments cannot funnel this money or cannot use this money. So that's good and bad, but that puts all of the work in our hands. I went to training last week, kind of going over this. I talked with the FHWA people. I spent Friday and I spent over the weekend and a nights going through this to figure out what we need to get done to apply for this money. To start, we need a local road safety plan. That's kind of what Federal Highways is getting out of this. Is they want everybody to have a local road safety plan. It's a data driven, so crash driven. What they're wanting to do is trying to get everybody to the point of proactive maintenance rather than reactive. Rather than reactive to a wreck, let's see if we can get rid of things that cause wrecks. Obviously, to drive the zero death or serious injuries. So, what we're going to do is I've got the crash data already for the county for the last 5 years. That's the period they want to look at. I'm going to start looking through that and figure out what we can do. What I need from you all is there's a portion of a stakeholders buy-in. What that is I will get fiscal court involved if y'all want to be involved. It will be the sheriff's department, maybe the volunteer fire department, people that go out on crash injuries, school bus garage. What type of objects they typically see in a roadway that needs to be removed. Thought about signs would need to be, trees need to be removed, objects that we need to get out of the right of way, clear zones. So it's kind of that building block. What I'm going for is strictly for signs, clear zones. Number one is trees. Number two is signs. Those are the two biggest objects I see out on the roadways now that we need to look at trying to get rid of. Are trees being close to the road within a clear zone. If a driver, their fault or not, gets off the road and they can have a safe distance to recover back on the road, the injuries were avoided. If they hit a tree, obviously injury not avoided. So if we can get rid of trees, we can move ditches back, we can get shoulders back in place, we can get signs, chevrons. I'm gonna start looking at the radius of some of these curves, see if they warrant to put in chevrons or curves. So what this is, obviously it's a big step, but we'll just start, get together with our committee, whoever wants to be involved, and we'll start stepping down, the first priority down to the least priority on our roads. Because we got to have a plan. That's what the city road plan is about, as far as figuring out which roads need to be done first and kind of work our way down. So, like I said, it's a healthy sum of money. I was at first, looking for, somewhere around $500,000 or so, and they said that their implementation grants doesn't start at $5 million. So what that is a substantial amount of money. Yes. It's also 80-20 match. But our 20% match can be like in service. So our trucks haul the trees away. We get the right people that's got the abilities, the skills to remove the trees, hauling our trucks out. We take them to a park where we can burn them, or dispose of them. We can use that also as money for disposal fees. So our trucks, our labor, our places, that kind of thing, we can use. Signs, same deal. So it's definitely a step in the right direction that we really need for this, for the roadway.
Hey, Nick, does it still apply? We had a conversation a week or so ago about where the lines are on roads.
Yes.
We was talking about state.
Yes.
And does that still apply to the county the same way?
Now, the way the county's always had, just for budgetary reasons, they've never striped because of the cost involved. Okay. Some of these countermeasures to reduce crashes is markings. So those are things that we can possibly get into to look at, saying, hey, we'll edge lines in this curve, designate where the edge of the road is. Okay, not stripe the whole entire road, but we come there and we try to figure out, systemic approach, figuring out which places that we need to stripe, which places we don't. So when they come to the curve, obviously your eye wants to see what edge of the road is. They'll see a curve, they'll see the lines. They'll stay on the road. Those are how we can maintain this down the road with the budget. Because once this money's gone, this is something we got to maintain. So 8 years from now, we're restriping, we don't have this money. That's a big hit to the budget. But if we do localized areas on this curve, then we can stripe. We can work on the markings to those locations.
Clock is ticking, but what I hear you say is you're going to need our support at some point in the process, and I don't
Yep.
imagine anybody here wouldn't want
No.
to support this all the way.
Thank you for looking into it and running with this ball. But I just would like to point out one more time to everybody, right away. Every chance we get to get a right of way, we need to get it on the GIS map and have it so we can do things like this.
And this is what I'm still getting into. I came from the highway department, which we had right away. If not, we bought it. Obviously, we can't with our budget. But there may be in places where people have areas that, it'd be verbal right away to where these trees gone, they're out of their way, we can.
Peer pressure works. If they want a new culvert, they want this, that, we need to get a right-of-way and get that from the center line. Any place you've got a new subdivision or something, that's already put in the planning and zoning, that gets it for us. But there's a lot of places in the county we don't have it, and we need it. All we got is to the outside of the ditch that's just prescriptive easement, basically.
Yes.
And we need more than that, so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you, Nick.
Sure.
If you don't mind, I'd like to skip good of the county for the rest of us and get into executive session, which we need to do. I think Master Barry was probably going to say, everybody come to Bluegrass in the Park this weekend. Everybody come to Bluegrass in the Park this weekend. I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session per KRS 61.810C, discussions of proposed or pending litigation against or on behalf of the public agency.
Back and make a decision.
It looks like we will, yes.
Second.
We'll be asking for a quick vote.
Okay.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And let's head on back there.
go back into regular session, go out of the executive session.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Steve, we're about to take an action. Do you want to characterize it for us?
Yes, I would suggest on a joint recommendation from both myself and Mr. Tassa that the fiscal court accept the sum of $10,000 to release lien for demolition of some dilapidated property that was on PVA parcel number 64-12. That's 8221 Green River Road, property owned by Malcolm Berry. We've been in discussions with State Guardianship Services, who's trying to liquidate that property for him. I believe now that it's empty, I believe the PVA has it assessed at about $10,000. Anyway, the lien, I believe the total was around $17,000. This $10,000 will clear that lien, we'll get it sold, and we'll get the property back being a productive property and have taxes being paid on that once it's sold by somebody that's actually caring for the property.
Make a motion to accept the recommendations of county attorney to accept the $10,000 and to release the lien.
Second.
You have a motion and a second. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor can leave. Thank you very much. I'm headed up to Kennedy.